For this moment, let's focus on costal breathing. First part, feel your ribs. Allow your ribs to sink down. As you do so, your head can move forward and your spine can bend forward. As you inhale, focus on slowly, I'll use the word lift the ribs, lift the individual ribs so that you expand your ribcage at the same time. Inhale. You can breathe through your mouth or your nose. Exhale, allow your ribs to sink down. Notice that as I inhale, my spine lengthens. And I'm also focusing or imagining creating space between each of the ribs, using the muscles between my ribs to lift my ribs and then allow them to sink down. So from the front, inhale. You can see from what's behind me that I'm growing taller as I inhale. And exhale. You can add movements of the head to assist your breath. When you inhale, focus on pulling your head up and back, like this. You'll find that action as well, pulling your chin in. So not looking up, you're pulling your chin in as you do so. That action naturally helps your ribcage to expand. So it's almost like you're using your neck to help you breathe. So this could be called neck breathing in a way, but it's using your neck to help open your ribs. Again, the focus, or to help you get this movement, to help it feel good, focus on moving slowly so that you develop your ability to control your body. The slower you move, there may be a point at which you move too slowly, but generally if you move slowly, it's easier to feel your body. And because you're moving slowly, you're developing your ability to control your body at the same time. So what are you doing? You're learning to control your breath by controlling the muscles that you breathe with. Hence my lack of concern about whether you breathe through your nose or your mouth. My concern, or the point of this exercise, is to help you learn to feel the muscles that you breathe with, develop flexibility of your rib cage and your spine. Add on to that, a separate exercise can be to practice breathing through your nose or your mouth. Then you have the option, you can choose whichever one you like. Or depending on the class you're in, whatever your teacher says, you can do whatever the teacher tells you to do. And it doesn't matter, you have the choice. So now focus as you inhale. Lift your ribs, but at the same time pull your head up and back, and your chin slightly in. Inhale. Exhale. Allow your head to move forward and down. Allow your ribs, front of your ribs to sink. Inhale. Feels like I'm pulling up through this point here. Exhale. It doesn't have to be as strong or you can actually keep your face reasonably relaxed. I don't always do that, but when you're fully present or mainly present, exhale. Now, one addition to this exercise, just going to push that back a little bit. Watch my upper belly. How do you know if your diaphragm is active in this exercise? You may do it so that your diaphragm is active, or you may just focus on using your intercostals, the muscles between your ribs. If your upper belly hollows out, probably means that your diaphragm is inactive. And here I find if I vary the speed at which I lift my ribs if I go a little bit slower, I find my lower belly almost naturally, my upper belly, sorry, naturally expands outwards slightly as I inhale. That indicates to me then that my diaphragm is active. It's pushing down slightly as I inhale, even while my ribs are lifting. And the neat thing about this is that if you're actually using your ribs, your intercostals, to lift your rib cage while you inhale, because your diaphragm attaches to your ribs by lifting and expanding your rib cage, you're actually giving your diaphragm a firm foundation from which to act. So then it is easier, it may be easier for it to actually contract downwards, thus causing the upper belly to expand. Because I'm lifting my ribs, my tendency may be to pull my lower belly in, hence only my upper belly expanding. Because when you lift your ribs, you are lengthening your abdominals, so that has a tendency to pull your abdominals in slightly. But if you do it slowly enough, not only do you make your waist slightly thinner, you take air into your body at the same time. So it looks good, which isn't a point, but more importantly, it feels good, and it's possibly because you're breathing properly, or you're breathing one of the ways in which it is proper to breathe. You're bringing air into your body and sending it back out. So now watch this part. Let's see what happens. Inhale. Okay, it's a little bit hollow there. Inhale. Because it's sticking out just a little bit, I think that means my diaphragm is active. Now I'm actually going to, it's a little bit tricky, press down on the inside, bottom of my lungs, press down as I inhale. There. That felt like I was using my diaphragm at the same time I was using my intercostals to lift my ribs. If I just do this, I was purely focused on lifting my ribs. For now, I'll end with that simple exercise. Lower your ribs, allow your spine to bend forwards. Lift your ribs, allow your spine to lengthen.